Welcome to the Derek Creason Show. This is episode 13. Coming up on the show today, we've got movies. We've got lots of movies to cover, including new movies like Roadhouse, If, Ricky Snicky, and The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, as well as some older movies and also some rewatches. We're also going to talk about Memorial Day. The holiday weekend is upon us this weekend, so we're going to talk about what it means for you, what does that mean for veterans, and we'll talk through some ideas that maybe you haven't thought of before regarding the holiday and veterans, and so I want to encourage you to stick around and hear all about that. As always, I welcome your feedback, your questions, your suggestions, etc. Derek@derekcreason.com is the email address, @DerekCreason on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for the socials. You can find me on Rumble as well, just search for Derek Creason. Also go on over to my website, derekcreason.com, where you can get my latest updates and also sign up for my email newsletter so you can stay up to date with what's going on. I'll send that out every 2 weeks or so. And also, lastly, go on over to Amazon and look for my book called 20-something. It's available there. You can get it on Kindle and paperback. You can also read it for free if you're part of the Kindle Direct Club or whatever they call it. The links are all over my social pages, or you can just go to type in my name, Derek Creason, at Amazon search bar, and it'll show up. Welcome, everybody. Today is Friday, May 24th. So recent life updates. What have I been up to lately? I am still doing recovery from my surgery. It's been 4 weeks and a day or two since my surgery. So recovery is going slow, but I am on track. I'm making the expected gains in range of motion and physical therapy like I'm supposed to. Physical therapy is actually quite painful some days. So it's been getting better this last week, but weeks 1, 2, and 3 were quite painful. So a lot of icing, a lot of just slow movements. Actually, now I'm able to start telling a difference in some of the muscles in my shoulder. And so the recovery journey just continues onward. Also related to that, I've only got 2 more weeks in the stupid sling thing I have to wear all the time. And that cannot come soon enough. It's very annoying to be the one-armed guy in everything that I try to do. I don't like having to ask for help to open things and all that kind of stuff. But it serves its purpose, so I've only got 2 more weeks in the sling. However, though, I have progressed enough that I can shower by myself. I can tie my own shoes and get dressed by myself. And also, I can finally make it through an entire day with enough energy that I don't have to just go and take a nap when my body just crashes and says, hey, we're done, and shutting down. That's just been in the last few days I've been able to do that, so that's nice. Also, after 3 weeks off, I went back to work, so that has been good for my brain to have some structure and some routine. Also, the kids are finishing school this week, so summer craziness is about to begin. Not looking forward to that. Looking forward to that? Question mark? I don't know. We'll see. It's a change of routine. Always interesting. For hobby stuff, I've been playing Far Cry 5 on the PC, been watching movies and wrestling. I think that's all that's really been going on lately, so let's jump into the show. All right, let's talk movies today. So I've got 3 or 4 that I dropped off from the last episode, so we've got those 3 or 4 movies to go over, as well as a bunch from the last few weeks. So we've got a total of 11 movies to go over. So I won't go as in depth on each of them, but I'm going to give you a couple sentences about each, tell you what I think about them, and I'll give you my buckets of popcorn ratings. So if you've forgotten, 5 is great, 4 is good, 3 is okay, 2 is meh, and 1 is bad. First up is the movie Ricky Snicky. This is a raunchy comedy with Zac Efron and John Cena. And it's exactly what you would expect it to be, a raunchy comedy, kind of funny. I give it 3 buckets of popcorn. Next up is the Roadhouse remake. This is the remake of the Patrick Swayze movie from the 80s, 90s? I don't know. I never really saw the original. I've seen clips of it here and there. This remake has Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor. And basically it's just look at how jacked Jake Gyllenhaal got and likes to fight and punch people. And then also Conor McGregor is just an insane guy. For what it was entertaining. I give it 3 buckets of popcorn. Next up is the Bray Wyatt WWE documentary called Becoming Immortal. This is a documentary that the WWE made about the wrestler known as Wyndham Rotunda. That was his real name. He passed away back in August of 23 from a heart attack, and it was actually quite sudden, really quite sad for anyone who's in the wrestling industry. He was a really great guy. He was very creative, and this was a really well-done 2-hour documentary that they put together with the rest of his family and his brother. It was just really well done. And it was just a nice tribute to see all that and see a lot of unseen footage from a lot of his creative projects. So I thought that was a cool thing to do and watch. Don't watch it if you don't want to cry. It was really good. I'd give it 4 buckets of popcorn. Next up is The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. For quite the long name, And the title of the movie, this is actually quite a good movie. It was done by, I'm going to pause it and go look up his name because I totally blanked on the name. Guy Ritchie. That's the guy's name. He's the guy who directed it. If you go look up a lot of his recent work, he likes to put the word gentleman in the name of his stuff. So anything that has the name gentleman in it recently is probably done by him. This is an action thriller, an action comedy movie about the start of the SAS. Ian Fleming is in it, and he is the famous author of the James Bond books and movies. And he actually based his James Bond character on the real-life person of Gus March Phillips, who is the main character of this movie. This movie stars Superman and Jack Reacher, or also known as Henry Cavill and Alan Ritchson, and they make a pretty good comedy, or pretty good duo, and it's just a good action thriller comedy movie. I really enjoyed it. I would give it 4 buckets of popcorn. Next up is The Bricklayer. This is a spy thriller starring Aaron Eckhart. It was fairly formula and cliche, but still entertaining action thriller spy movie about the CIA and something and money and betrayal and some bad guy and some good guy and all the normal tropes that happen in that kind of movie. But it was entertaining and good, so I enjoyed it. I give it 3 buckets of popcorn. Next up is Civil War. This movie had a lot of hype and some neat trailers and had a lot of good marketing, but it ended up not being about a civil war at all like it was marketed as. I was extremely disappointed in that. I went in expecting some cool dystopian, futuristic, how did this civil war happen? And that was not what it was at all. It ended up being just a story about a war photographer during a civil war. The setting could have been any war-torn country. It wouldn't have mattered. They just happened to use the United States in this example, just so when you heard city names or different factions, that it would all make sense for you. Not at all what I expected. If I had gone in thinking it was a story about a war photographer, I would have liked it better and rated it better, but that is not what they marketed it as at all. So for that, I give it 2 buckets of popcorn. Next up is Total Recall. This is the 2012 remake of the 1990 Arnold Schwarzenegger classic. This one stars Colin Farrell, my Hollywood girlfriend Jessica Biel, and also has Kate Beckinsale, who also is not ugly. This is just a good sci-fi action mystery. Very entertaining. I like to watch it anytime it's on. This one's set on Earth, not on Mars like the original, but still very entertaining and just lots of good action and what's going on, mystery, as Colin Farrell has to figure out what's going on because his mind has all been wiped. Next up is Hunter Killer. This is a Gerard Butler military naval thriller about submarines and Russia and captains of boats and submarines and special forces teams all making decisions and then the people in Washington reacting and making other decisions. I didn't really know what to expect going into this. I thought it was going to be kind of a B movie like Geostorm and be silly, but it was actually a really well done thriller and very serious, and I actually liked it a lot. It was very intense, so it was a good movie, and I rated 4 buckets of popcorn. All right, last 3, here we go. The next one was If. I went and saw this weekend with the kids in the theater. If was Ryan Reynolds and John Krasinski's new kids movie about imaginary friends. It was a decent kids movie. There was a gap in the middle of the movie in exposition. You're just kind of like, what? They're not really explaining stuff. What's going on? And I was kind of like weirded out about that. But then also, once you kind of figure out the whole theme of the movie, that you have to remember your imaginary friends, I'll cut them some slack since that kind of matched up with the way their exposition was forgotten to be in the middle of the movie. Other than that, it was a pretty good movie. Kids liked it. I would give it 3 buckets of popcorn. Another thriller movie I watched recently was Criminal. This was another 2016 movie that somehow I missed back in the day. This one starred Kevin Costner, Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Oldman, Jordi Mala. So quite the star-studded cast for an action thriller about another guy who had his mind copied into somebody else's mind and CIA spy thrillers. They kind of delved a little bit more into the morals of the actions of each person as they kind of weaved in and out of the storyline. So really liked that, and I always like watching anything with Kevin Costner in it or Tommy Lee Jones. So it was a good action thriller. I would give it 4 buckets of popcorn. All right, and lastly is another 2016 movie called Bloodfather. This was a Mel Gibson action/chase movie that also somehow I missed back in the day. The story of a deadbeat dad getting a second chance to help out his daughter. He helps her run away from the cartel and gang members. Had lots of good action, and I liked just the way Mel Gibson acted in it. I liked that it showed what a father would do for his kid, despite himself having messed up his own life. So that was kind of interesting. Good storytelling. William H. Macy also co-stars in this movie. I would give it 4 buckets of popcorn. It was good. All right, and lastly, before we finish out movies, I'm going to give you a quick, short list. Since Memorial Day weekend is coming up, I'm going to go over my 5 favorite war movies. Number 1 and 2 are probably interchangeable back and forth depending on what day you ask me. Number 1, actually I'll start from 5. 5 would be Saving Private Ryan. Number 4 would be We Were Soldiers, another Mel Gibson movie. Number 3 would be 12 Strong, about the Special Forces and the Horse Soldiers. And the number 2 would be Lone Survivor with Mark Wahlberg. And then number 1 would be Black Hawk Down. Although Black Hawk Down and Lone Survivor are probably interchangeable depending on what day of the week it is. I'll probably try to watch 1 or 2 of those this weekend for Memorial Day. All right, that is it for movies today. All right, we'll file this one under Army Life. I haven't done an Army Life segment in quite a while, so let's get to it. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's often called the unofficial start of summer. This is a time for many people to get the day off from work because of the federal holiday. It's often celebrated by family get-togethers, barbecues, parades, and mattress sales, among other things. It's originally a federal holiday designed to honor the military. Oftentimes, people get it mixed up with Veterans Day. If maybe that describes you, that's okay. I'll explain it real quick. Veterans Day is designed to honor military members who served and are still living. Memorial Day is designed to honor the military members who are no longer with us, and specifically that have died in battle. Now, when I talk about battle, I'm also going to include mental health battles. And the part that people don't like to talk about that very much is that's suicide. It is a deadly killer for us in the military, and it's something that the military culture struggles with in general due to the hardships of military life and the things that we've seen both in the U.S. and on deployment, and especially for those who have seen combat. For many veterans, myself included, Memorial Day is one of our least favorite holidays. It's a struggle. For me, it starts about a week out. I start remembering friends that I've lost along the way during my 14 years in the military. And some of you might say, hey, Derek, I thought you were in the National Guard and you do that stuff part-time. Well, yes, that's true. But if you didn't know, the National Guard receives all the same training as active duty and actually deploys just as much, if not more, than active duty, because we go do both combat and peacekeeping missions abroad, and we also will deploy for state emergencies to help with natural disasters and border missions. I've deployed overseas, and I've also lost friends as a result from that. I personally have known 3 people in my unit who have committed suicide, and also another leader in my division who committed suicide, and I actually didn't know him. And that was just related to the people that I knew in my small world of my unit and my sections that I worked in. It sucks every single time that it happens. It makes you wonder what you missed, what you could have done to be there for them or help them. You really wonder. The funerals and the memorials are crushingly painful as you see the family hurting even more than you are. If I could do anything in this world, I would hope to never have to see a mom cry so hard or ever hear taps again at a funeral. It's devastating to me, and I cry profusely anytime I think about it. My eyes are watering right now. I also have Army friends who've lost friends in combat as well. I have not been in direct combat in my Army jobs. I do signal and computer stuff. I haven't done anything super dangerous, but I have friends who have, and I can't imagine having to remember their friends and their brothers, and any time that they think about them, that also brings up memories of combat. And if you've ever heard people talk about combat, it's just hell and chaos and confusion. For me personally, I chose to name my 4th child after an Army hero named Benjamin Wise. He was a great father, he was a friend and a good soldier, and he lost his life due to injuries that he sustained during combat. I've written about him on my blog before, if you want to know more about him and why we chose to name our child after him. One of my goals is to honor his legacy and to teach my kids the importance of the beliefs and freedom that Ben stood for and that I stand for and believe in, and that he ultimately gave his life for. Ben was an awesome guy. I know from firsthand stories from our mutual friend Josh, my friend Josh King, who I also interviewed a few episodes back on my podcast. If you go back and listen to that, we actually talk quite a bit about Ben and his influence on us as men and the influence we hope to pass on to our children. So go listen to that if you want to know more. Also, you can go look up his brother Bo has written a book. I think it's called 3 Wise Men, and it delves a lot into Ben's life. I would really encourage you to go jump into military history and learn some of these personal stories of our heroes and our friends who have died in combat. The military is a relatively small community, and we are all way more connected than we realize. And when you go learn about somebody, it's not a far stretch to say that you or your friends or your other military friends are probably connected to them fairly easily. The 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon is very easy to play in the military. So yeah, go ask some veterans. Just go start talking to veterans that you know. Oftentimes we are happy to open up and tell amazing stories if we can gauge that your interest is genuine and that you actually care about us or what we have to say. We truly value that you care, and that you care enough to show it by sitting with us and wanting to learn about our culture. Would also say that part of talking to vets is just checking in on them, especially this weekend. When you ask them how they're doing, you're probably going to have to spend some time and ask them, no, how are you really doing? How are you getting through this holiday? What can I do to support you? Otherwise, you're just going to get one of the, oh, I'm good, how are you? A normal response in just passing conversation. This holiday is hard for veterans. I didn't realize it started for me on Monday this week when someone asked, do you have any big plans for the holiday weekend? And I just kind of mumbled, no, not really. I didn't want to explain that, no, I'm in the military and thinking about Memorial Day is very difficult and very emotional for me. I didn't want to talk about that, no, I'm probably just going to go watch some violent war movies, raise a cold one to my fallen brothers, and cry a lot, and hope that that's a valid way to try and process the loss of some of these awesome individual people that we've lost. I've kind of been fumbling and been grumpy the last few days as it grows closer, and I didn't even realize it. It helps to talk about it. Sometimes I find that the more that I can articulate it and put words to it, that seems to help, rather than just, hey, I have this giant emotion that I'm feeling and I don't know what to do with it. I imagine that a lot of other fellow military members are just like me, and that these emotions are quite difficult to express, and they're also quite difficult to process. It takes practice. Some of the things that we talk about when we talk about this kind of stuff, I was talking about battles earlier, mental battles, is I want to encourage anyone who's struggling with the idea of suicide. If you're a veteran or you're not, it doesn't matter. Please find some help. You can call me. You can call the 988 line. You can call the VA. There are tons of resources and people out there who really do care and that want to help you get through whatever difficulties you're going through. I want you to know that you're worth it, and that there are some amazing things worth living for, and they actually are brighter days ahead. And I believe that, having gone through some hard days myself. To put some numbers to these stories that you hear about in news headlines, and these were the latest statistics that I could get, was in 2022, the stats for the military, there was 589 suicides. 255 of those were in the Army alone, across all of the components. The Army is the biggest, so that makes sense, but the Army is what I'm in, so that's what hits home the most too. 255, that's 43% of all the suicides for the military that year. 135 active duty, 37 reserve, and 83 National Guard. It affects us all, and unfortunately there's no quick or easy answers to these problems. So I say again, go check on your veterans. They're likely to be having a hard weekend and will probably be grumbling under their breath about barbecues and mattress sales. They may be doing great. They may have developed some awesome traditions to honor their fallen brothers, and that's awesome, and I hope that they can share those with you. I imagine a lot of them are like me, still on the journey of figuring that out, wanting to honor their brothers, maybe not knowing how, and maybe still stuck trying to process all the pain and the grief and the hurt. In summary, I just want to say, go check on your veterans. Go care for your veterans. Know the resources and how to get people to those resources. Come alongside your veterans, help them grow, help them build memorials, and participate in them honoring their fallen brothers in arms for this holiday. I promise it'll be a blessing to both of you guys. So go enjoy the holiday weekend. Enjoy your family get-togethers. Enjoy the barbecues, and maybe get some stuff on sale like a mattress if you need to. But also, encourage you to take some time to remember what Memorial Day means and what it celebrates and honors. It's more than just a 3-day weekend to a lot of us. All right, that'll do it for today's episode of the podcast. I want to say thank you for listening and hanging out with me today. I know today's subject matter was a little bit heavier and a little bit more real, but I also know that a lot of you appreciate openness and honesty, and I do my best to try to keep it as real as I can and be straight with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm happy to hear what you think about it. Send me your feedback. You can always email me, Derek@DerekCreason.com. That's my email. Hit me up on social media at Derek Creason, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find me on Rumble. Just go search Derek Creason. Go to my website, DerekCreason.com. Sign up for my newsletter so you can stay up to date with what's going on. My book's on Amazon. It's called 20-something. Search 20-something or search my name. It's on Kindle. It's on paperback. If you like my show, come hang out on my locals community. I'm working to build an insiders community. It's completely free. I put stuff there that I don't put on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all this stuff. I guess it's X now, not Twitter, whatever. That's going to take a while to get used to. But yeah, I put stuff out on my locals that I don't put anywhere else. So you'll get behind the scenes stuff, my creative process. I put ideas out there. I show you what's going on. Supporters also get bonus episodes. So it's just a way to kind of come together with the community around the show and just hang out and support the show. So much of it is free, so just come hang out and check it out. Go to thederekcreasonshow.locals.com and just come hang out in my community. That's it for today. Like always, whatever they say, follow, subscribe, like, share, retweet, all that fun stuff. Listen and share to your heart's content. I will see you guys later. Derek out. Coming up on today, what's his name? And sorry, I can't count.